Welcome everyone. Hope you had a nice weekend. The weekend's over though. So let's begin. Your next homework assignment is due on Tuesday. And we're going to be working on budget limits and capital rationing today. And that's what you need to solve the last part of the homework assignment that's due on Tuesday. Looking a little bit further into the future, we have a quiz on Thursday. And that'll just cover the material since the last quiz. And I sent an announcement out on Thursday that I'm going to collect a submission for your project along with homework 12. What I'd like to see essentially is a draft submission that describes what planning and research you've done so far. Just to refresh your memory, with the project, what you're supposed to be doing is thinking about what your salary is going to be, what will be your expenses, how much can you save each year, and ultimately you're going to put together a cash flow diagram that basically shows how you're gathering enough money for retirement and then how you're spending that money down. It's going to be a table, a spreadsheet, along with a cash flow diagram. But the first part of that are assumptions and study and research having to do with your chosen career after you graduate, how much you might be able to make and how much you're going to spend with your expenses. So I'll collect that along with homework 12 on Tuesday the 1st. Yeah, I'm going to include points along with the homework assignment for that. So actually, the homework assignment, although I'm collecting it at the same time, the homework assignment is going to be 1 grade, and then I'll grade this separately just to give you an idea of how it's looking. Yeah. I don't know how long it's going to take you to summarize the research you've done. I think it would probably be not useful for me to say a page minimum. You know, it all depends on what you're writing about. So, not necessarily. I mean, you could write a page of irrelevant information that would be terrible, or a paragraph of wonderful information that would be great. So, I don't want to make it as irreductive and basic as just a page limit. You give me your submission, and I'll give you draft feedback about it. I'll type a you know, when you submit something on iLearn, you can give feedback to the students like type feedback. So I'll tell you what I think it lacks and what assumptions are strong and what assumptions are weak. So there's no set page limit. There's no set page minimum. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, what we take on Tuesday is going to be the day before. So I guess I should say really that's going to be Monday, what is it, the 30th of November? All right. Because we're going to have class 2 days in a row, right? That'll be nice. Yeah, we're going to have class on Sunday and Monday because of the way they changed around the Martyrs' Day holiday. What? No, they're not. No. We're having class on Monday. You can leave the university after our class, but I'll be here. You never have to come to class. It's your choice. Yeah. If you want to learn and if you want the points, then you should be here. Otherwise, it's not required. All right. So let's talk about capital rationing. Every organization has limits on how much money they have available. You'll remember we looked at a curve previously that showed how borrowing costs go up. For every organization, the more that you've borrowed on a cumulative basis, the larger the borrowing costs are. And that's because banks and bond buyers sense risk when they see that a company is taking so much money that they want to put towards new projects. And so that's what creates a limit on investment capital. And so you can do amazing projects, but you can't necessarily do every amazing project that is conceivable. You have to pick which projects are going to make the most sense for an organization. And one of the ways of doing that is called a capital budgeting study. And we're going to do a capital budgeting study today. And it starts by developing cash flow estimates for every project. You know, the assumption of what's the initial investment required to purchase materials or to set up an organization, and then the revenues and operating costs that are anticipated. So we figure all of that out. And one of the assumptions along the way as we do that is we're comparing lots of different project possibilities, and just for simplicity, we assume that you can't have partial funding of a project. The budget constraint is labeled B as a variable in this capital budgeting study, and what we do is we find out how many combinations of the different project options are there that would fit inside of the maximum budget. So you may have 5 or 6 different projects available, and you have to find out what's the cost of projects 1 and 2, what's the cost of project 1 and 3, and so on. You check all of the combinations of how many projects there could be, and you find out how many of them are economically feasible. And what we want to do is develop the package, or they call them the bundle, that develops the maximum return on investment. So here's just sort of a graphical summary of that process. What you do is you find out the budget, the cost for each project, the initial investment, and what the cash flow diagram is going to look like. And then you put together combinations of A, B, C, and you find out what's the total investment and what's the total present worth of all of those cash flows. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at this set of data for today's in-class exercise, and there are a few things besides capital budgeting. I want to show you a couple of new tricks on Excel. One is an if-then function, and one is conditional formatting. Maybe some of you have already done those things before, but they're useful tools in cases like this. You can see there's 4 projects, A, B, C, and D. One of the options is do nothing. So we always have to keep in mind that do nothing is a possibility. Now there's a rule that if you have a certain number of projects, M, you can find out the total number of combinations by 2 to the m power. So here we have 4 options, and so m is 4, so there should be 2 to the m possible combinations of those, and that number includes the do nothing alternative. All right, so you have in-class exercise 30 there in front of you. And what I'd like you to start off with on part A is just identify how many possible bundles there are, both the number and the combination. So there's going to be combination A, B, C. You know, each one of the letters is itself a bundle, and then start pairing groups of 2, groups of 3, groups of 4, and so on. So find out if you can think of all the combinations, and then once you've done that, start a spreadsheet from scratch this time. The last few classes I've been providing a template, but this time have your own spreadsheet that in one column has all of the bundles and the initial investment of them, and then for the different combination, what's the total investment. And so it will be bundle as the heading for one of the columns, and bundle as another word for groups of projects, and then the next column is total investment, meaning for the bundle. All right, so I'm going to let you get started on that. Let me dim the lights just a bit so you can see what I've got on the screen there. So start putting together a spreadsheet that looks something like this, where you've got the combination in one column and the cost in the other. This column that says possible, don't fill that in manually. I'm going to tell you a way that it'll automatically tell you yes or no. So just do the whatever the combination is and then its associated cost. And for cost, you don't have to do the math yourself, right? Once you type in the amounts for A, B, C, and D, for example, I've got a formula for AB, where I'm just adding together the amounts that were in the cells above there, and so on. Formula for AC, you're just pointing to cost for A and cost for C. Okay, so the idea is you're getting some column that has costs, right? Let me scroll down here and delete all this. All right. Here's how you use the if function. Equals if, and now it's saying logical test. A logical test is greater than, less than, or equal to. So our budget limit in this in-class exercise is $23,500. If something is above $23,500, the answer is no, it's not possible. But if it's equal to $23,500, then it's okay. So what we want it to be is, the logical test is if cost is greater than, where's the greater than on this keyboard? Okay. I'm not used to the UAE style keyboard here. Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah, all right. No, that's not it. No, I'm pushing on the key. Control. No, guys, this keyboard's different. Trust me. Come on over here. Take a look. Is it Control, maybe? This one right here, right? You guys don't have that one. Alt? All right. Well, that throws... Let me unplug this keyboard and plug it in. As soon as it installs this keyboard, I'll be ready to show you the logical test. All right, here we go. I have a feeling it's any time now. All right. Greater than, greater than, oh, it was worth it. All right. So if this is greater than, what's the limit? 23,500? 23,500, then comma, it wants to know what should it do if that's true. Yes, thank you, that's right. So actually what we want it to say is if it's less than, because it's negative. So if it's less than negative 23,500. Okay, so that means if the cost is beyond 23,500. All right, so in that case, if it's more expensive, then we want it to say no. And the way you have to do no is you put in the quotes. And so quotation mark, no. Less than means more negative. So if it's more negative, we want it to say no. Okay, put in the parentheses, comma, and otherwise. So if the logical test fails, then we want it to say yes. All right, so let's check to see. So it's saying yes, it's possible. Zero cost is fine. And so I'm going to double click, and it will paste that through. Let's just see how the logical test... So this one, it detected as a no, because it's 25,000, so no, it's not possible. This one, yes. Right on the limit is okay, but beyond the limit, no, is not okay. So I don't have to think as much if I can just do the programming operation that one time. Now, it's not a big deal if, for some reason, it didn't fill it through here. If there's only 16, it's okay to do it manually, but sometimes you'll have a spreadsheet with hundreds of rows. And so programming an if-then statement will save you really a lot of time, and it's so annoying manually comparing when you can just program it yourself. So get that if-then statement. Again, let me demonstrate the way it works. I'll go back to this one. Zoom in a little so that the keys are more visible. All right, so what I'm going for here is equals if this cell is less than negative 23,500, then the answer is no. Otherwise, the answer should be yes. All right. So yes, that's possible. Yes, this is possible, and so on. Okay. Show me your logical test results. The next part is to take this revenue data and add a column to your spreadsheet that has the net cash flow for each one and then for the combinations. So you have cost. This is revenue. That's why it's positive values, whereas our costs were negative. So add the revenues to the spreadsheet. Basically the same thing that you did for the costs. You know how the AB was the total of the costs. AB here will be the total of the revenues. That's right. So you're incorporating this revenue data. The spreadsheet's going to look a little something like this, where you're having the cost, the annual net cash flow, and then you're finding the present worth of the bundle. And the way you're doing that is you're taking the cash flow to the present using the PV function and adding it to the cost. Right? So present worth of the bundle, I'm adding two things together. Present value of the annual cash flow, and it says in the problem statement our MAR is 12%. So I've got that 12% up here at the top along with the number of years of revenue. There's 8 years of revenue. So where I'm doing the present worth, I'm doing the present value function of the annual net cash flow, assuming 12% interest, n equals 8, and then I'm adding it to the cost. You've been working on your list, and your list has some yeses and some nos, right? And back in this part where you've got the yeses and the nos together, there's a tool that will allow you to create a copy of your worksheet. So if you right-click down at the bottom on the tab, right-click and say Move or Copy, and create a copy. And the reason why that's useful, so now it's created one that was called Part 1 and then a copy of it, is I'm going to suggest that for the ones that are not possible, you delete those rows. So you can highlight the rows that say a no and right-click, delete. And do that to the one that was a copied sheet. So you can keep the original, you still have it, but then you have a copy of the sheet where you've deleted the rows that are a no. Because if it's not possible, we don't want to see it for the last part of the analysis. But if you delete it from the original, then you're kind of you're missing out on the data. All right? So that's how you can copy a row, or copy a whole worksheet. So which one should the company do? You want to find out the highest amount. And here you can see I have it highlighted. I didn't do that highlighting myself. Excel did the highlighting for me. There's a couple of ways to find the best one. You can do the max function equals max, and then just select a range. And then down here at the bottom, it'll tell you what is the maximum amount. And that's nice. But if you had hundreds and hundreds of rows, it would still be hard to find which one is the maximum. You'd have to go page after page and comparing all of the numbers together. So there's something called conditional formatting that makes it a little bit easier. It's right here under conditional formatting. You can do, let's see, a new rule, and we want it to be format only top or bottom ranked value. and we want to format the top one. And then here under Format, you can tell it what you want it to do. And I chose bold. I'll do this time bold italic. And I'll make it large. Oh, I guess I can't change the size. But bold italic, not strike through. And so you highlight the cells that you want it to apply it to. Conditional formatting, new rule, and we want it to be the top value, the top one, formatted as bold italic. Okay? Now you can see it found the one that's the highest and it made it bold italic. Okay, I don't want us to get too distracted with if-then statements and conditional formatting, because that's just sort of the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae today. The main dessert was, what are we doing? We're doing a comparison of how much budget we have with the value of many different combinations. So we know that there's 4 possible projects that we have to choose from. So we have project A, B, C, D. We know the cost of each project. So here was the cost. We know the revenue of each project. And in total, we have some budget limit. So all of the possible combinations tells us what is going to be the cost of each grouping. And we can find out the revenue of each grouping. And then we can only choose one of they call it a bundle. So for us, bundle AC is the best bundle because that's the combination that is on the budget, and the budget is only $18,500, but it produces the most present worth. So even if we spent more, project CD, we're spending more, but we don't get as much present worth. And so that's why we wouldn't do project CD, is we choose the one that gives us the highest present worth. And that is capital rationing. What questions have you got about what we did today? None. Piece of cake. Well, it's supposed to be like an ice cream sundae, but it's delicious either way, right? All right. Please remember to put your in-class exercise paper on this chair as you leave the classroom, and I will see you next time.